Hello and welcome to Travel Shots Live, where I bring you unedited footage of all the places I travel. Sarajevo, Bosnia. Is it worth coming here? Well, today I wanted to share my thoughts about that. We're going to break down the pros and the cons based on my own personal experience staying here for a month. I've been here at an Airbnb for a month now, and I would like to share the expenses. I'm gonna cover the topics of, rent for the month on my Airbnb. How much does food cost? Eating out, street food, coffee, groceries. Also, we're gonna talk about the transportation, how to get around, about how much that would cost. We'll get into about how the people are, if you can communicate with English. We'll get into what the city and the country is like, since I've done some tours. I'll give you my opinion on that. And then we'll end it on what there is to do. And then I'm gonna give you my final review, the thumbs up, thumbs down review. That's what I'll give you on my opinion of being here, okay? All right, so number one, what did I pay to rent here? Now, I'm looking at my notes. If you see me looking down again, laptop, Word doc, I can't remember all this, you crazy? Anyway, how much did I pay for my Airbnb? Okay, I'll tell you the months I rented it. And remember, this is pretty much high season because it's summertime. But I rented from July 23rd to August 20th. And with the discounts, it came to $884 US per month, which breaks down to about $32 per night. Not too bad, considering it comes with the kitchen and all the goodies. So if you missed one of my very first or second videos here, I always show you the Airbnb when I first get to a place. Then you can see the entire apartment and see what I'm talking about and see if you feel $32 a night is worth it. I do. Anyway, so how much does food cost? All right, let's break down what everybody loves to do, which is eat out, of course. That depends on you. You can eat out and you can spend anywhere from $25 to $40 with a drink per one meal. And I'm talking about a solo traveler. So like if you're traveling with somebody, if you're a couple, take my figures and double it, okay? Especially with food, all right? Okay, so it just depends on the restaurant, but I'd say from my personal experience, 25 to 40 bucks. Now the street food, really cheap. They have things called burek, which is like, it's a dough that they put stuffing, could be cheese, could be meat, could be spinach. It's really big. You can pick it up for like $1.50, right? For one of these, it'll fill you up. And then if you get just a couple things like I did, like I think I spent $3 on 2 or 3 items that included a little dessert. I do have a food video you can check out. That's about what I spent, was $3. Very cheap. So you can go on the low end. And then of course there's coffee. I personally love coffee. So if you're in Old Town and you get a Fancy Dan coffee, it's gonna run you about $3, which isn't that bad. But you can get a basic cappuccino or a macchiato or an espresso or something like that on the outskirts of town, like in the hills up here where I'm at, in the neighborhood. You can get it for like $1.50 a cup. So again, depends on you and where you're at. And then the next thing is the groceries. Okay. Now, if you are a carnivore and you like to eat meat, I like to have some meat with my meals. So there's a local meat market, and now this is for the entire 3 weeks I was here. I went one time, I spent $20, and I got a lot of meat for 20 bucks. Like I got a big old pork roast, I got a couple of big things of chicken, I got a big old side of beef. So I took all of that and I just chopped it all up and divided out. And I had enough, like I could eat a piece of meat with like soup if I had it for dinner every single night for the last 15 days. So $20 meat, 15 days. If you're cooking at home. Now, the produce stand, super cheap. You can get fruits and vegetables. I mean, you're looking at a whole big bag. Like, I'll show you. This is my travel grocery bag. You see this bag right here? This little doodad. This bad boy, and I've got 2 of them actually. I can fill one of these up for $8 full of produce. This is a big bag, okay? Like, look how deep this bag is. All right, $8 produce, and that's by the week. And then if you want to, like, let's say you can't find what you need at the produce stand or the groceries or the meat market, you go to the grocery store. And depending on what you get, maybe $10. I mean, things are pretty cheap. They don't, one thing about out here is they don't have like big giant mega grocery stores because you're in the mountains. So they're like small mom and pop kind of grocery stores. You know, they have a little bit of this and a little bit of that. I couldn't even find peanut butter. I was craving peanut butter the other day and they didn't even have it. So that sort of sucked, you know. Sorry. But, so no peanut butter, but they have the basics. Like me, I like to pick up oatmeal and eggs and cheese and little things like that. And they have it. So you can spend maybe $10. It's super cheap, super cheap. All right, let's move on to the next subject. What about the transportation? Well, walking is free. And that's something I do a lot of. So if you're, you know, in decent shape and you enjoy to take a walk, like a 30-minute walk, no problem. Like where I'm at up here in my Airbnb, I can walk, it's on a mountain, so it's really easy to walk down the mountain, and it takes me maybe 20 minutes to get down the mountain and get into the actual city center, right? Or you can just walk around. There's local coffee shops like my grocery store, my meat market. It's all within a 5-minute walk, super easy. The next thing is the bus system. They do have a bus system. I wouldn't say it's as super modern as, let's say, like the big cities of Belgrade, Serbia, or Tirana, Albania. You know, they don't really have a bus system like that. Like they have the bigger buses that'll run you east to west in the heart of the city, but they won't take you up in the mountains. But if you want to go up the mountain, they do have what they call the little Centro buses. They're real small little, like I call them beep beep buses because they're so small. And you can hop on one of them and they'll take you up through the mountain range, you know, the neighborhoods. However, it's, you know, you can find a bus stop, but Google Maps is really sketchy about telling you exactly where they are. Like when I entered my address on Google Maps, and then I said, what are my options for transportation? You know how it normally gives you options of walking, taking a car, a bus, or a train, right? Even though there's a bus stop, I found out 5 minutes up the road from me, Google did not recognize it. It said there was no bus stop and that I had to walk. And it even said that when I switched the location from the city center to go back to my place, it said no bus, walk. And I was like, what? So it was so confusing, right? And then on top of that, I read online that you either have to buy a ticket from the driver when you get on the bus and they have to punch it so that you don't get fined, or you have to buy it at a kiosk. And I was like, okay, I don't know where the kiosks are at. And it's sort of hard to ask people, you know, because I was looking, I found some bus stops, but I didn't see any kiosks. So I thought, that's sort of weird. And then I thought, well, yeah, I could get on the bus and pay the driver, but then it's like, I'm speaking English. Do they speak English? And I'm going to be holding up a whole bus full of people to try to explain I just need a ticket to go to XYZ. And I thought it was too much. It was just, I don't know. I mean, I found out the ride is only $1, but it was it was difficult. So I think it's not very tourist friendly. Like I found the bus system in Niš and Belgrade, Serbia, and like I said, Tirana, all of them were super, super easy to use. But it's not really up to par out here, I don't think, in my opinion. But anyway. Now, if you get downtown Sarajevo, they got a brand new tram system. And it's $1 a ride, but it doesn't go up and down the mountains. It only goes like east to west. Because the city sits in a valley, and it's just a very long, skinny city that runs along the river, right? So the tram will just go from this way to this way, and that's all you get. And another thing, same thing, you got to find a kiosk, or you pay the driver, and you got to get the ticket punched. I don't know. I didn't even take the tram, so I can't tell you anything about it. Now, the next option, well, you're thinking, well, did you walk back up the mountain? Hell no. I looked at the mountain is so steep, bro. It's like this, okay? I mean, I don't mind walking down, but I am not walking up after I've spent an hour walking in town, or I have a bag full of goodies I need to haul back up the mountain. Like, no bueno. So I was like, okay, my only option is a taxi. Now, they have taxis. And don't use the taxi app. The taxi app sucks, bro. They have a taxi app that's called Zudi, Z as in zebra, UTI. It's called Zudi Taxi. I tried it twice, and neither time could I ever connect to a driver. I'd let it run and run and run. It kept saying no connection, no connection. And then it would error out. So the taxi app does not work at all. You cannot wave a taxi down. If you try to wave one off the road, they just drive past you and do this. Like call. That's what they do. So you cannot flag one off the road. So then I find out, well, they have, well, before I tell you this, they say call. Okay, so I go online, I look up all the local taxis in Sarajevo. There's like 4 or 5. That's it. I literally sat down and I called every single one of the taxi services. None of them would give me a ride. Either they didn't understand what I was saying because they didn't speak English, so they'd say no, or I'd hang up because we couldn't communicate. Or if they did understand some English and could speak it, they just told me no. I was like, well, how the hell am I going to get a taxi, bro? So there's 2 things you can do, and these are my tips, okay? 1, go on Google and search what's called taxi stands, okay? Search for the term taxi stands. It'll pop up all the locations. In other words, what it is they have a pole with a sign off the different points of the road that says taxi. And then you just go stand there and you wait on a taxi. So that's one way to do it. And if you're lucky, there will already be a guy parked there where you can just jump in the taxi and they'll take you. Or here's another option. Oh, wait, no, let me tell you this story. I had one taxi driver that somehow he was the only one at this one location, and I tried asking him twice to take me back to my place, and both times he told me no. I was like, and he didn't have any other people around, and he was just on his phone doing his thing, and he told me no. So I was like, well, that's rude, right? So then I had to go find another taxi dude. So I don't know what was up with me and that guy, but I guess he didn't want to drive me for some reason. So I was like, okay, whatever. But most of the time you can get somebody who's at a taxi stand and you can get them. They'll drive you. Or you can go into a restaurant or a bar And let's say you order a little something, and then after you're done and you get ready to pay, ask the waitress or the waiter if they'll call you a taxi. And they will every time. That is how I got my taxis most of the time before I actually found out about the taxi stands. I didn't find out about the taxi stands till my last week. So, like I said, I'm passing this tip on from me to you. So the taxi stand thing on Google Docs, or just walk in somewhere and have a local call for you, because they can do it in their language and you will get one every time, and they show up within 2 minutes. No problem. Okay, so moving on, communication with the people. Is there English spoken in Sarajevo or in Bosnia in general? Well, the answer to that is yes, but not everybody speaks it. And it depends on the locations you're at and who you're speaking to. Some of the taxi drivers speak broken English, most of them don't. So you won't be having a conversation with a taxi driver. Most of the locals up in the hills, some speak it, most of them don't. Like the lady at my produce stand, no English whatsoever. Most of the women working in the grocery store up the street, no English. So I had to use my Google Translate app to communicate. But if you go down to the city center, especially where all the tourists are at, of course, if you're in a local cafe or a restaurant, they've got waiters and waitresses that speak English. Okay, there you go. So it's a 50-50 crapshoot. So the next subject, second to the last one, what is the city center like? Okay, let's start there before we talk about the country. All right, well, as I said, it is very walkable because it's not a very wide city, and there's a little bit of the city on each side of the river. Most of the action's only on one side of the river. However, it is a very long walk from the end to the end. You know, we're talking at least an hour's walk from east to west. So depending on what you want to see, it's walkable. Now, there are a lot of architectural buildings to look at. Oh my gosh, I'm a big freak about history and architectural buildings. There is a lot of reminders, unfortunately, of the past Bosnian War from 1992 to 1996. You are going to see a lot of shrapnel and bullet holes splattered on different buildings throughout the city. And I asked a local about that, and they said, you know, most of the buildings have been redone and repainted, but some of them were purposely left, not only for the tourists to see, but also as a reminder to their future generations of what happened, so that their generations never forget. So that's why you're going to see that, which is sort of, it's a good thing in a way, but in a way it's also depressing. I don't know. It felt very solemn. It's a very solemn experience to see it. Now, another thing, as I mentioned, there's lots of cafes, restaurants, shopping, museums, and green space, parks for you to check out. Now, there's even a mall. I haven't even been to the mall. I just thought, it's not a real big mall, but there's a mall if you want to go to a mall. Okay. As far as the country's concerned, I mean, oh my God. I mean, what can I say? The country's absolutely gorgeous, okay? I mean, we've got mountains and valleys. We've got flowing clear rivers. We have caves, waterfalls, and we have hiking trails. So if you love to walk, especially out in nature, they've got that. If you want to hike around the city, they got that. If you want to get out into the neighborhoods, the back alleys, you got that. I mean, it's just beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And the weather's nice. And that's the next subject, is the weather. We did have a couple of heat waves. At the most, I think it got up, well, it did get hot. It got up to like 95 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about, 35 Celsius. But most of the time, it's been very comfortable in the summer. Shorts, t-shirt like what I'm wearing, you'll be good to go. And last but not least, what is there to do? Okay. Well, as I mentioned, you can walk and explore, but they also have what's called a cable car, which will take you to the top of the mountain that overlooks the old town. So you can take a cable car ride and you can go do your hiking up in the mountains up in there. And of course you can watch the sunset, you know, so you can get a round trip ticket. It's a little pricey. It's about, what'd they say, 30 euros, which I think is $35. I was gonna do it, but I was like, nah, I can't see spending $35 on just a trolley ride up a mountain and back, even though you get to hang out up on top. I was like, nah, because I did a tour. Like I mentioned, you can do tours out here. There's a lot of tour agencies. So on one of my tours, we actually drove up the mountain and he took us into the park and we saw the 1984 Olympic bobsled up there. So I was already up there. So I was like, you know, why do I need to pay to go back up the mountain again? But if you don't do a tour, I'd say it might be worth it to you. Okay. Other thing, you know, really we touched on it, you know, the museums, the tours, the shopping, and then of course the local markets. They do have a lot of shopping, a lot of touristy stuff to buy, you know, it's whatever you want to do. So there, you won't run out of things to do, I would say. Well, and now we get to the end of this and my thoughts. All right, here's my thoughts. Out of the 6 items that I just listed, 5 out of the 6 gets 2 thumbs up for Sarajevo. What's the one thing that gets sort of a thumbs down? It's their transportation. You probably guessed it. Like I said, I don't believe their buses are tourist friendly. Their taxi app sucks. Sorry, Sarajevo, but you need to step your game up. Even Skopje, when I was in Skopje, North Carolina, or North, oh my God, North Macedonia. I'm thinking about the United States. When I was in Skopje, North Macedonia, they just started a rideshare app. And it was sort of hit and miss, but it was working good. And the guy said, well, we just started this app at the beginning of the year. And that's why. And we only have 30 drivers, but their app, at least I could get a taxi ride. This app here, you can never get a taxi on that app. So for that reason, that is why I give them a thumbs down on their transportation. The tram is probably good. I haven't rode it. It is brand new. But if I'm just looking at getting along with the buses to get up and down the mountain, and the taxis to get them, it's a thumbs down. All right, guys, that's my thoughts. That's my pros and cons. Like or don't like the video, totally up to you. Subscribe or don't, up to you. Wish you would. My next video actually is coming from a whole different location. I don't know if I'll upload tomorrow. I might. I'm actually traveling as of tomorrow. I'll be leaving about noon, so I will let you know if I upload a video. Of course, you'll know, you'll get in your notifications. All right. So don't forget to subscribe if you want to catch that. And hey, if you got a wild guess of where I'm going, put that in the comments. Remember the clues. North of Bosnia, not in the Balkans. And I'm going to one of the biggest, most famous cities in Europe. In this country. Some of you got it. Some of you did guess already, but I can't tell you because it's going to be a surprise till I get there, okay? Okay. All right, guys. Don't forget to share the video. And as always, I love you. Mwah. Catch you in the next one. Peace out.